Hey, welcome everyone. This is the session about creativity, human creativity in the age of AI. And my name is Shipra Kayan. I'm the principal evangelist at Miro. Thank you to the folks back there. Yeah, I'm the principal evangelist at Miro. I'm just curious in this room, how many of you know Miro, the tool? Most of you. Okay, amazing. All right, great. So a lot of times when I say I'm the evangelist at Miro, people ask me, what does that mean? And I promise you, it's not religious. Basically, the story is that I was one of the first 1,000 users of Miro back in the day. We have 70 million users now. Really glad to see some of you here. And I've been using it for a long time, brought it into many of my companies. I've worked in Silicon Valley for 25 years as a designer and a product manager. And so 3 years ago, I got the chance to join Miro in-house, and I want to share with you some of the best practices, some of the themes, some of the trends I'm seeing across some of our largest customers. And then I also have my colleague here, Alex, who's a solutions engineer at Miro, and he's going to show you some of the cool new AI features that we've been building. So we'll have a little, an amazing demo. But I'll start with something that's been on my mind lately, and I'm sure it's been on some of your minds as well, which is, what is the role of us as humans in the age of generative AI? And to me, the answer is human creativity. And so I ask you all to reflect, maybe for 30 seconds, just silently reflect on this question. What is creativity? How do you define creativity? So you don't have to say anything, just think about it for 20 seconds. Okay. So I'm sure for many of you, as you are thinking about creativity, you thought of the word new or novel or something that's new. Creativity is creating something new. When I think about creativity, I define it as connecting two things that already exist in the world, but in a new way. And I'll show you some examples of what I mean. But it's very rare that something creative is something new from scratch, from first principles, that it's an invention. No, creative things are connecting things that already exist in the world. For instance, what does an elephant have to do with a staircase? Not much. They live in different contexts. Elephants are in the savannah, staircases are in the cities, right? So they're not things that I would ever have thought about together. Until I saw this drawing of an elephant with a staircase head. I don't know if this translates, made by my daughter. She was 5 years old when she made this cute drawing. And I was like, oh, so cute, so delightful, so surprising, so creative. But you're not here to make cute drawings. I wish that was my job, but it's not. So my job, if I can get the clicker to work, you'll see some dancing here. And Alex, if you can help me. But our job is to innovate, right? We are here to build to solve customer problems and build new things that people are really willing to pay money for, that really solve big human problems. So when I think of the word innovation, I think it is creative. It is about creativity. You're connecting two unrelated things in a new way, but now you're solving a customer problem, right? You're solving a tangible problem that people are willing to pay money to solve. So, for example, wheels have been around for millennia, for a long time. Some kind of box has been around, trunks have been probably around for 1,000 years. What happened when somebody combined them? Can anyone guess? It's the wheelie suitcase. Yeah, we all have it. Only 80 years ago, it was only 80 years ago that somebody invented this. Okay, this one must be easy. So you see some video cassettes of movies. This is how I used to watch movies when I was a little. And the post box, yeah, mailing systems have been around for a long time. What happened when they were combined? Yeah, Netflix, yeah, easy one. Okay, this is a harder one. So I live in San Francisco, and just north of San Francisco, there's a very famous bridge called the Golden Gate Bridge. And the bridge has a big traffic problem because in the morning, everyone is coming into San Francisco to work, and in the evenings, everyone is going out. I'm sure you all have highways here in Madrid that have this similar problem. So here, I want to show you two things that seem unrelated. So I would like you to look at the dividing line on this highway, the little concrete barrier. In America, this is in between highways so that oncoming traffic don't hit each other. Maybe you have this in Spain as well. And then on the left, you have a zipper, or on the right. You have a zipper. So this is a zipper we would use in our clothing. Now, I'm sure people who build highways don't think about zippers, and the people who work with zippers probably are not building highways. But somebody combined these two ideas together, and they made a solution to the Golden Gate Bridge problem. So what you see here is a little truck that moves the divider from one lane to the other, and it uses kind of the same technology as a zipper to move the whole divider over. So in the morning, you get an extra lane for traffic coming into San Francisco. In the evenings, you get an extra lane going up. Now, I wonder why more cities haven't or countries haven't adopted this technology, but it was great for my commute when they built this. So as you can see, like taking things from completely different areas, trying to mush them together, I think can lead to innovative solutions. And one exercise that's really good to get our minds to think like this is to take an everyday object, like this can of water, or a pencil, everybody knows what a pencil is, and to think about different ways you can use it. So I want you to play a game with me. If you scan this QR code, I want to see if in a room we can come up with 50 ways to use a pencil. So think about a way you can use a pencil, but not to write, to do something else, right? Let's say how could you use a pencil not to write? Some of the things I've heard are as chopsticks to eat food, to make a hole in the paper. So we're going to take a minute. Let's see if we can come up with 50 ways to use a pencil. So I've seen most people have finished scanning the QR code. You'll see a text box. You can send me one idea per. You can send me as many ideas as you want, but just send me one idea per sticky. And the ideas you sent me will show up on my Miro board as stickies. So I'm going to ask my colleague Alex in maybe 10 seconds to zoom out and see. I see a couple more people scanning the QR code, so let's see if they can scan it. Do you want us to make it larger? Yeah, you got it? Okay, perfect. I think everyone scanned it. So how can you use a pencil that is not for writing? And maybe, Alex, let's escape out and see if we can. I'm getting some answers here. Amazing. So let's see if we can get like a few more, yeah? I love it, to scratch your back, to hold your hair, yes. I've done that in the past. As a mustache? Oh, this is a creative session. I'm not judging. Hi. To play drums, yeah. To do hairstyle as a hole poker. Let's see. To level something, very cool, yeah. So you're trying to make sure it's a plane. What else do we have? To draw, yeah. To tie your hair, to unclog a straw. That is very creative, yes, to unclog a straw. I love it. All right, I wonder if we can try clustering them, seeing what we get. Any others? Okay. So a lot of times when I'm running workshops in Miro, I get to the stage and I'm like, how do I make sense of all the stickies that are coming in? So now I can ask Miro AI to cluster the ideas that are coming in, and it tries to find groupings. Like scratching is a big group. To play drums, to play as a roulette. Hair is the biggest, hair seems to be the biggest kind of draw for this audience. I love it, to poke things as a mustache to scratch. Okay, great. As a ruler, I love that, as a ruler. So great. Well, thank you for playing this game with me. This is like a really fun sort of game to play as a warm-up if you're doing ideation exercises to get our brains to think a little bit more widely. If you keep playing this game, the answers will keep getting more interesting. People start thinking, okay, how else can I use the pencil? Oh, maybe I can shave off the wood and use it to start a fire for my campsite. So and you might start thinking, what do you do with the lead? Maybe it's a conductor of electricity. How can we use it to solve an electric problem? So it's kind of like a good way to take something normal and start applying it to different situations. All right, so with all of this idea of taking something from a different context, applying it to your context, and then innovating, I started wondering why kids are so good at it. And I found some research from Alison Gopnik, who studies kids, and she's out in Berkeley, right next to me. And her framework that I think is really useful to think about, to understand this reasoning of why are kids so good at being creative, is to think about the explore-exploit trade-off. All right, so here's what it means. It says, and this also is a theory in computer science for those of you who studied computer science, it posits that a system is either in explore state, so it's in a state where it's learning, it's observing, it's gathering information, or it's an exploit state. It's taking that information and making decisions and doing productive work. So if you have a robot, right, let's say you have a robot and you want the robot to sort different sizes of screws in different boxes. In the explore state, the robot will be looking at all the screws, it will be learning what all the different sizes are, it'll be learning where it needs to go, but it's not doing any productive work. It is not giving you any return on investment. Once the robot has learned, you put it in exploit state, and now you can give it a box of jumbled up screws, and it will sort it properly, right? It's the same with kids. So kids are always neurologically tuned to be in explore state. So I have a 2-year-old. He cannot walk a block without stopping at every garage door and touching it and asking what it is. Or if he sees a cup, a little coffee cup, he'll turn it around, he'll use his pencil to play it as a drum. He's gonna be thinking, how can I use this object to play, to have fun, to use it in my environment? If I see a coffee cup as a grown-up, as an adult, I'm going to pour coffee in it, or maybe wine, depending on the time of the day, and drink it. So I'm in exploit mode. I'm thinking, how can I be productive? What can I do? I'm making decisions, whereas children are always in explore state. Now, obviously, it's good that I can make decisions and be productive, because my kid obviously wouldn't be able to walk a block in less than 10 minutes. But I've lost my ability as a grown-up to stay in this exploratory state, to look at objects and be like, oh, how can we use this in a different way? All right, so going back to the robot. Now, if you give the robot a box of screws that are all mixed up, and let's say there's a pencil in there or a bolt, right? What will the robot do? The robot might get confused. It might stop. So the way to fix the problem, when you talk to AI researchers, they'll say, let the robot explore the whole warehouse. Let it see all the different objects you have in your warehouse, where they live, and now when it encounters something new in the box, it's going to be more resilient. It will know, oh, this is a pencil. I'm going to put it here, right? So the way to build more resilience is to explore more. And that is something that I've been thinking about for my teams throughout my career. How do I make my teams more resilient? How do I make them react to new ideas, new changes in the market? And the answer has always been to teach them to stay in this explore state of mind a little bit longer. So how do you do that, right? The question is, how do you do that? It's easy to say, how do you do that? So at Miro, there's a couple of things that we've been trying. So on our design team and product teams, we are always doing design workshops and design sprints. And part of that design sprint or workshop is always to go outside of our zone of reference and look for inspiration from the outside world. And I might be able to show you an example of that in a bit. So after this slide, Alex, thank you. Yeah, this we're going to do a little duo technical exploration here. So first we do something, we say, okay, let's do a design workshop, let's go outside of our context. And the second thing we do is we don't just explore for the sake of exploring. For me, as a leader, it's important to know, is my team really being creative? How do you assess creativity? Nobody ever innovated in a spreadsheet. You know, you can't really be like, how creative are you? 0.567, you know, that's not going to work. So I like this framework from the Torrance test of creative thinking. And after every kind of important project brainstorming session, I sit back and look at sort of these aspects of my team's generative work. Did we explore enough ideas? Were those ideas relevant? Were they deep? And that helps me realize whether or not we as a team need to spend more time in explore mode. All right, so I promised you an example of this. And maybe my friend Alex will be able to help us. So at Miro, we do a lot of design sprints. And in design sprints, for those of you who don't know it, it's a 5-day process to go from idea to a user-tested prototype. So for us, this is a design sprint that we did for a feature that we were building, and the feature is called Talk Track. Anyone here use Talk Track? Okay. Well, yay. My Miro colleagues use Talk Track. All right. So I'll give you a quick background. So Talk Track is a way, you know, a lot of times Miro boards can be large and they can be pretty confusing for newcomers. Talk Track is a way for you to record a video walkthrough of your Miro board and send it to your colleagues. But what's really cool about a Talk Track is that when you send it to your colleagues, the board is live. So they can then zoom out, add stickies and things like that, but also they can go back to following you. Anyway, there was a time before Talk Track when we got some signals from the market that this might be an interesting way to help people share their Miro boards. But we weren't really sure. Should we build it? How can we make it different? We don't want to build just a screen recording tool, right? So we did the exploration. We went outside of our norms. We said, let's get inspiration from other people that do video. And this is where I want to show you, if you go to day 2, Alex, sketch, and zoom into the sketch part, and zoom into those examples, the lightning demos. Thank you. So we went outside and we explored all of these other tools. And if you zoom out and go down a little bit, Alex, we'll look at the Mario Kart example. So the green, no, just up on the, yeah, up within the lightning demos section, the green, and yeah, let's zoom into Mario Kart. Okay, amazing. So the team went out and they looked at, you know, all of these examples from television to gaming and other sorts of media. But the inspiration for Talk Track, which if you haven't used it, you should, and I have a little demo if anyone wants it later. But the inspiration behind Talk Track, for us, the key inspiration came from Mario Kart Ghost Mode. Who's played Mario Kart here? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, this is a global phenomenon. I played it when I was a kid in India. Like people in the States have played it, people here, it's like global. And the engineer that found this inspiration, he's Dutch, he's from the Netherlands, but he brought this inspiration and he said, look at Ghost Mode. And so if for those of you who don't know Ghost Mode in Mario Kart, what happens is you might have a friend that had done the same race the day before. And now you can race today against your friend from day before, but it feels like you're on the same track, right? It feels like you're doing it together. This was a big innovation in gaming, because before this, what used to happen is you would see 2 panels. You would see your friend racing in one recording, and you would see yourself racing, and it would be 2 different panels. But here, they smooshed it together so it feels like you're doing it at the same time. And it was the same with Talk Track when we built it. It really feels like you're kind of there with your collaborator, and so we kept the board live instead of making it just a video recording. So that's an example of how, like, we at Miro are always going outside of our norms. So back to the presentation here. And I don't know if we can play a video. Do you think we can? Let's skip it. So back to the presentation. I think really what I want you all to think about as you go back is how can you get your teams to think beyond the walls of what they already know. And I believe AI can be an assistant in helping us explore more broadly and broaden our mind. So with that, I want to ask Alex to come on stage and show you how we at Miro have been thinking about using AI as part of our product to help the product innovation process. So Alex, I will wait for you to come on here, and we'll go from there.
Thing again in the moment, so
Well,
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Ta-da! Okay, cool. Thanks, Shipra. That was great, right? I thought it was really interesting.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to be on here for like a few seconds, and I'm going to go back there to show you things that are way more interesting than watching me talk on stage, so bear with me. But Shipra has given you kind of the big picture view on creativity, unlocking that, what's the relationship between the human side and the artificial intelligence side. I want to give you a few points of reassurance that human creativity can go hand in hand with AI. Hopefully it will, otherwise we're in a very interesting scenario in a few years. But I just want to share a few points that I hear from a lot of our customers, and I want to see who in the room has the same thoughts. Before I get to them, who here is using any sort of AI tooling full stop? Okay, let's hope we're going to play nice with AI long term. And out of the topics that are on here, who agrees that it will play a role, no doubt? Who finds security to be a big question mark? Okay, we're getting a little bit more edgy, I like it. Who thinks it will save you so much time? Nice. Who hopes they don't get replaced by AI? Okay, see. So the question being, where is the human side in all of this? And I promise you I wouldn't be on here for very long, so I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to walk back there and make it difficult for the production team, because now you don't have to have a camera on me, but I would like to have some audio. Thank you. So don't mind where I am. I might not even be in the room, but for today, what we wanted to show you was really around how you can start using this in the context of Miro, right? So what you see here is a fairly common example, I think, of the stages that a project goes through, right? So you want to be able to discover the topic, the scope, the project that you want to start working on. Then you need to define what that discovery is. Double diamond, I'm sure some people know that methodology as well. And then finally you need to get to the point that you're able to actually deliver that. And when it comes to delivering that, this time last year, no, 15 months ago, Miro was the first platform in our category that actually launched any AI in their system. We call it Miro Assist. Hands up if you've used Miro Assist in Miro so far. Okay, a few people. So hopefully after today, all of those hands will be up. But what are some of the challenges that we think you can solve with Miro Assist? And these are really around three main topics. It's one, manual work. Two, being able to fix that cold start problem, right? So when you wake up or you open your Miro board or you open a document and it's blank and you're like, okay, now I need to get started. Or maybe you're stuck somewhere and you have a moment of creative freeze. So I want to show you some examples here today where we've seen Miro Assist play a role, and I'm going to do that in the context of launching an online pet food company. Could be anything, right? Apply it to your own business. We're going to follow the same 3 steps of being able to discover, define, and deliver. There is also a very nice template on the Miroverse, for in case you haven't used that before, about the user journey. Now, Miro Assist starts by using a data set. And that data set can be anything that's gathered from a Word doc or a CSV or whatever it might be. So in this case here, I have some research results, and I'm going to be able to take those research results, and you can actually add those to Miro. So I'm going to try and make this as clear as possible based on the screens that we have. So to give you an idea, these are research results of when we did user research around what do you need if you want to launch an online pet store. So what Miro Assist allows me to do is I can actually select the content that's been added to the Miro board, and I can ask it to, okay, now start clustering this, similarly to what we just saw before from what Shipra was showing us. We can cluster this in either keywords or by sentiment. The moment I cluster it into keywords, it's going to analyze the language as on there, and it's going to group it into the sections that it can recognize in those keywords, right? So we have cancellation difficulty, food quality and safety, convenience and variety. And that testing allows us to also to do it with sentiment analysis. So we can take the feedback from a user research and say, okay, how negative, neutral, or positive are the users? And you can see it automatically groups it here into the sections that they think it's a great idea, it sounds convenient, but also the neutral parts or even negative parts. So from the moment that you've gathered that user research, it's really very straightforward to be able to break it down into the sentiment and get a pulse check on how users are feeling about this. Moving on from there, once we've done this, we could also ask Miro Assist to actually give me the 3 main pain points, right? So if I go in here, and I will take this prompt, and we will take the outputs here of the stickies, and we'll open Miro Assist, which is here in the bottom right corner. You can tell it, ask me anything, summarize those. I'm sorry this is a little bit small. I will add these in a moment to the board. And I'll copy this. And it's given me a breakdown of what are the top 3 pain points in relation to that research. So in a matter of clicks, I've moved from taking the discovery phase or the output from speaking to my users. I've analyzed the sentiment, I've broken it down into keywords, and I've actually been able to also ask AI to break it down into the 3 main pain points. So now I know what we're talking about, we know what the topics are, we can move forward and start defining what we want to do with that. Now, a little teaser, you're actually also able to create presentations with Miro Assist. Now, hands up if you love making PowerPoints. Oh, come on, you're lying. I know you're lying. The majority of you is not a huge fan of creating PowerPoints. Now, I would love to live in a world where I can actually say, I am not going to be doing any presentations ever again, so I'm just going to ask Miro Assist to create a presentation for me. And where we see this going is that over time, you'll be able to add your brand colors, your words, your fonts, etc. And you'll actually be able to auto-generate a presentation at the end of your project, as you can see there, to present outward, right? So you've done the fuzzy bits, you've figured out what the project is that you're working on, and then, oh crap, I have a presentation to my senior executive stakeholders 5 minutes later. I don't want to spend time having to go through this 2-hour workshop we've just done. I just want to take the findings, summarize it, present it, and get the input there and then. And as you saw, we've been presenting from Miro the whole time, so there's nothing stopping you from immediately going from here and moving forward from the same board. So that's the discovery phase. Now, let's say then we need to figure out what are we going to work on, right? So we know the problems, we know the scopes, we know the topics. We want to understand how we're going to be able to deliver on some of these ideas that are coming up. So one of the ways to do that is to actually have AI generate a mind map for you. And this is probably one of my favorite features in Miro Assist, because it really fixes a lot of the cold start problem. So let's say I want to expand the topic of subscription-based pet food delivery services into other ideas. You can ask AI to also give you further topics, questions to ask, etc. And you see it comes up with a complete tree of ideas. Regular delivery of fresh, high-quality pet foods sounds like a great idea if you like your dogs. A loyalty rewards program, online community, and in the context of what Shipra was saying, none of these are things that we couldn't come up with ourselves, but it's the fact that you change the environment and kind of the context of the question and the discovery that is now being supercharged by AI that makes it easier for you. Then at the same time, you might want to say, okay, I want to take this data and I want to convert this to stickies. And let's just change that here. And you'll see that, really across the board, there's a lot of flexibility with what you can with the data output that is added onto a Miro board, whether it's changing it from stickies into, actionable cards, or whether it's taking a mind map and then changing this into stickies. So far, we've not been jinxed by the demo gods, so who knows, this might be the point. Oh no, there we go. And you see it's now added the same topics and changed the format for it for you into sticky notes. Now, why is that relevant? Because the moment you have that done, you might say, okay, well, the mind map was all fun and good, but actually, I want you to give me similar ideas in a different format. So I want to get, let me see, expanded with topics. I think at this point you're starting to get a sense of like, okay, we're widening and we're narrowing the scope based on what the AI is giving us and expanding on. You see it starts getting a bit messy, so it really depends on what works good for you. But in a definition stage, it's really helpful to get started with that, and then at the same time uncovering ideas that you might not have uncovered before. Now, when it comes to brainstorming, you might have a topic where you say, okay, give me more ideas around that topic. And this time we're starting from a sticky note. I'm sure most people here have started with Miro in the context of sticky notes. I know I sure have. And you see they've been added here as well. Now, the other part is, you're probably talking to designers, you're talking to visual people, you're talking to somebody that can draw, a elephant with a fire staircase way better than I can. But maybe in some cases, you do want to translate a certain visual idea in your head. Now, the way that actually is possible with Miro AI is we don't just generate content in the context of words, we can also generate images. So let's see what it gives me if I want to get a mascot, right? Because the pet food company needs to have an image, it needs to have a logo. I am terrible at drawing, AI might not be. It can come up with some creepy stuff as well, but I like this. This is nice, You can decide to keep it. You can also tell it, actually, give me another try. And through that, just kind of iterate through and start creating essentially a vision board that you can then use to translate your visual ideas. And I like that we're sticking with the little cartoon animal here. So, then one more question. Who here in the room works with developers? Okay. Is anybody here familiar with writing user stories, writing acceptance criteria, having to tell your developer exactly what it is that you need them to build? Raise your hand. Awesome. So, this is usually the part where people either get really excited or really scared, because Miro Assist also gives you the possibility to generate user stories that are applicable to your idea. This is a hugely time-consuming exercise, but by actually being able to, get started by generating cards with user stories, you're going to start accelerating that process as well. And we see we have 5 here. As a user, I want to be able to subscribe to a pet food delivery service. I want to easily manage my subscription, etc. Great. I'd say that could easily be about 10 to 12 minutes saved. Now, the fun part, even though I never write these, the fun part is writing those acceptance criteria. And Miro Assist, again, a couple of clicks, allows you to generate those acceptance criteria and adds them to the card. And I apologize that it's a little bit small here, but I'll give you a couple of snapshots. The user should be able to access a dedicated section. The user should have the option to pause their subscription, temporarily suspending it, should have the option to cancel, etc. So you see the level of granularity that's on there. And in the context of today's conversation, think about a world where you don't spend time on coming up with the rudimentary things like this, like these are basics, you could argue. And think about the time it gives you back to refine and really zoom in and figure out what it is that you need to have them build.
I will say, Alex.
Yes.
I have written acceptance criteria, and I know some of you in the room, you were nodding your head. And I remember writing acceptance criteria for pausing a subscription service, and there's like 10 things you have to do to suspend payment and whatnot. And that AI-generated acceptance criteria got 8 of those. So it really helps with these mind-numbing tasks, so we can have just more time to be creative, I think. So thanks for, I was just gonna say, that makes me so happy to see it.
Awesome. Then we've done our discovery. We've defined some of the possible areas that we want to build. Then it's time to start delivering. Now, I can't write code. I can read some code. I can understand what the code is supposed to do in a very broad sense of it. But I'm sure anybody who's worked with developers or with PMs, there might be the argument of oh no, this is going to take 2 weeks to build. I'm not here to encourage you to second guess them. However, there is a possibility to at least get a first start, and you can do this with multiple languages, right? So let me just see if I can zoom in a bit further on this. So this is a code block here. We have JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, Go, all the main ones on there. And you can actually ask it to generate code from natural language. Of course, you need somebody to be able to fit it into your overall code base. You need to make sure that it's, according to whatever your standards are, etc. But we have code. And I have no idea how I would have written this myself. Now, there might be the other way around as well, where you say, okay, well, I see this piece of code, somebody's put it on a design sprint environment, etc. But what does it actually do? You can also do it the other way around. You can ask it to explain the code to you in normal language. So you've just been able to remove that translation environment between engineers and PMs, or non-code people, I should say. And it immediately gives you an idea, okay, what am I looking at here? So as you see, there's really quite a broad range of areas where Miro Assist can play a role. And then to kind of close off for today, and then I'd love to hear any questions that might be in the room. You've done your project, you've delivered whatever your sprint was, your monthly goal. You want to do a retro, and you want to get understand what the key takeaways are. There's nothing stopping you from saying, okay, now give me a summary of what we have here in the retro that we discussed. Miro Assist recognizes this, takes the text, creates it. Let me just copy that here, and I'm going to paste it here for your reference. And these are all, time-consuming activities that you'd be able to skip and bypass if you start doing this on Miro today.
Yeah, and as a leader, all I need to know is, however, there's still a need for a UX designer, so it gives you that action item in the summary as well, which is excellent.
Cool, so I'm going to come back there, and then I'm just going to ask my dear friend here to thank you very much. So you saw a good amount of capabilities there. if we would have this conversation in a couple of months, I think we would have a very, very cool conversation, but I can't say more than that. So I think we have a little bit of time left. Before we get there, one more game with the QR code. You've seen a ton of stuff now. The majority of the room said at the beginning that you are using Miro or you're familiar with Miro. So we'd love to hear from you what it is that you would like to try. And then we'll see that at the end of the session to see whether I've done my job well and I get to come back next year. And otherwise, there's other ways. So whilst you do that, firstly, thank you for your time. Don't go just yet. We would love to take any questions that you have around this topic. We're also constantly learning, and it's really down to the feedback that we get from you. So thank you. I'm happy to hear if you have any questions. Here at the front. I love the background music. Yes. Tell me. Hi.
Very quick question.
Oh.
Hello. Is it working?
Yes.
Quick question. Did you create today's presentations with Miro Assist?
This one specifically, mine partially. Yours was designed separately. We're very, very honest. I saw another hand somewhere.
I did use Miro Assist to come up with the examples that I showed you.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes.
So I was wondering, when you work with developers, what is the reaction? I mean, how do you collaborate with developers once you get, like, at least the first draft of the code? What is happening there in the relationship in between teams? You know what I mean? Because we were saying, oh, I hope that AI won't take my job. But when I saw the code almost done, I was doubting how do you work with them to make them also contribute to the thinking?
Yeah, I would say most engineers are already using AI, and if they're not, they will be already using AI. So that step of generating code from natural language, maybe you do it for a prototype. That's not going to be what you put in production, right? And it's probably going to be an engineer that either generates it or takes it, and then they're going to edit it. So it's not production code, but every engineer is using AI in their tools, whether they're using GitHub or whatnot. The part about reading the code and summarizing in natural language is something that I see a lot of teams using to match up against the acceptance criteria in your user story. So that's kind of more relevant for non-engineers. But yeah, I hope that answers your question in terms of what we're seeing people do.
Any other questions? We have one here.
Hi, so I love the walkthrough you did using the Miro Assist, and I think a lot of the times we use AI to free up time for more creative and rewarding tasks, but how do we ensure we don't lose creativity in the tasks that the Miro Assist is helping us with?
I mean, that was the fingers crossed at the beginning, right? From our experience, I would say we're kind of trying to find those frontiers, right? So everybody's intrigued, everybody's using it themselves individually. People are still starting to figure out how to use it collaboratively. And to be honest, it's really kind of down to the individual team, the individual person, to draw that line for themselves at the moment. Like, I could not give you a straight up answer right now to say, oh, you can go this far, and then at that point you need to make sure that a human looks at it. It's part of, like the same way that we were talking about discovery, define, and deliver, essentially that. Like, you're gonna have to try a few things, and at some point you realize, we missed the nuance in this bit of user research. Let's not use AI for that in that same way the next time round. But I find it super exciting. I don't have a straight up answer. I don't know if you have something better.
I can add something to that. So there are some principles emerging in terms of how to use AI in product development. And again, it's so emerging, it's going to change. I can share a couple that have helped me. The first principle that seems to be emerging is use AI to start, but not to finish, right? It helps you start, it helps you like go wide, but don't just end with what AI gives you. You gotta look at it and play with it. The second principle I'm seeing, at least as it relates to design and product, is you can use AI to synthesize data, right? You collect primary data, you're doing the primary research, you use AI to synthesize it, but don't use it to create synthetic data. Don't skip the whole research part and ask AI to create a persona. I mean, it can work to some extent, but then you're only getting the same data as all of your competitors, and you're not going to find something new and nuanced. So I think there are some emerging principles. We're still figuring it out, but as a community, we need to come up with principles about how to use AI in our work. So if anyone's interested in that, if you have thoughts on that, come find me, because I'd love to like bring some of these sort of meta conversations together. Yeah, back to the room.
Any other questions? All right, I will just leave you with this. I think in general on this topic, there's two camps, I would say, very broad strokes. There are the companies that say, no way, too early, too scary, too dangerous, and they tend to not touch any AI, like across the board. Doesn't matter how good, how much it gives you, they're just going to stay away from it. And then you have the camps that are willing to try and probably also have to, because they might be in a, in a slightly more older industry where there's more challenges, there's more threats, and they need to find a way to speed up their way of innovation, and they need to take some risk. So unless, this happens in the next 3 months or something, I'm sure the next 18, 24 months are going to be extremely exciting. So thank you very much for being here. I want to see what else you're going to try. You're going to try all the features. Excellent. Everything. The trend radar first. End of life planning. That's dark. Okay. But we'll take that.
Important.
And I would just say, come find us. We're at booth 119. There's 10 of us here today, tomorrow, and some of us all Friday. Thank you very much. Thank you, Shipra. Great.
Thanks, Alex.